Okay, now we're going to go into the history.
Yeah.
You know, which is how I normally start things, but how did you originally get into music?
I was actually a little older when I started playing. I was 21 years old, and I have an uncle Tony DeLeo. He was in bands all growing up, so I kind of had it in the back of my head. And as a kid, growing up, just watching him because I got to see a bunch of his shows and stuff. So it was always something I kind of thought about, but never really seriously thought about it until I was like into my early 20s. I saw Van Halen. Van Halen was probably the one that sent me over the edge because I just saw him doing his thing and I wanted to do that. You know what I mean? So I got my first guitar in a shop in Emmaus, and it was one of those cheap ones, you know, like $100 or whatever. I just wanted to grab one and see.
I'm hearing Brian out of summer '69.
Yeah, right. It wasn't quite like that, but I just got it and I just fiddled around with it and I stank. And I gave it up for a while, and then I came back a couple months later, and it started to make a little bit more sense. And Uncle Tony gave me a couple lessons, and I just kind of took it and ran with it. I never really learned how to play by reading. I still can't read music. I just always kind of learned to listen and learn that way. And I think learning a lot of covers over the years, I learned a lot of different styles and stuff like that, so that contributed to how I play today, whatever style that is.
Freestyle.
Yeah, right. So I tried out for a few bands when I was in my early 20s, maybe like 2 years into playing, and nothing really worked out, so I started trying to put my own band together, which was just a nightmare. And you went through all the regular growing pains and stuff until you started finding the musicians that you were going to stick with. And I was in a band called Livewire for about 8 or 9 years, I think, and played with some really cool cats with that band, people I'm still friends with today. A couple of those guys were at my wedding party and stuff, so I still stay in touch with all those guys. It was a fun experience. We were a little bit more classic rock oriented, and we were really into 80s metal, which I'm still into. I love all that stuff, and we did a lot of that stuff in that band. But that band was kind of a revolving door, people in and out. The only guy that was there for like a long time was Chris, who's the guitar player in Angel Down, and we played together for, out of the life of that band, we were probably together for about 6 or 7 years, if my memory serves me correctly. And towards the tail end, we played with Mike Troxel, who was in the Cherry Bombs, and Tom Schlenner, who was our bass player there at the end, and kind of turned the corner a little bit and started to pick some different kind of songs to play, and got maybe a little edgier, not quite what we were in AD, but
80s rock pop style.
What's that?
You were basically 80s rock pop style now.
Yeah, for the most part. But we started getting a little edgier at the end. You know, we started getting songs about like Soundgarden and Seven Dust and stuff like that at the end, which was really cool. And I think that kind of planted the seed for maybe what we wanted to do in Angel Down. But at the tail end of Livewire, it kind of got a little stale. You know, we had members in and out, and every time we kind of got somebody caught up with the set list, somebody else would leave, and it just kind of, I think it ran its course, and it was time to put it to bed, and we did. So we were talking about maybe taking a little bit of time off, and we put some ads out there looking for a new drummer. And the regular thing that happens when you look for a new musician is you have 10 or 11 try out before you finally get your guy. First drummer that we had down to try out was Tony, who's with us in AD, and he kind of he had us after one song pretty much. And that kind of fell into place real easy. And we had a bass player, Jay Kleckner. He's in a band called Whiskey Demon now. But at the time he was our bass player, things kind of didn't work out with him. And Chris brought Josh into the mix, and those guys were friends since they've been teenagers, I think in high school or maybe even earlier than that. And they played in bands together growing up and stuff, so he brought him into the mix, and that's...
How'd you come up with the name Angel Down?
Angel Down is actually a song, an album by Sebastian Bach from Skid Row. We had like 10 names. It was everybody kind of threw 2 or 3 names into a hat, and we all kind of checked them out and voted on them. I think we everybody took all 10 names and put them, you know, their top name to the bottom name, and everything had a point value, and whatever ended up with the most points at the end was kind of like how we came up with the name, and Angel Down ended up winning.
So it was an actual legitimate process to choosing, you know, an actual...
Yeah, it was a real OCD, like, democracy type of thing going on there. You know, there were some cool names on that list, but that was the one that won out.
Okay.
But yeah, so...
Now, how does the band fit in with the name though?
How does the band fit in?
I mean, I know from experiencing it one time, but just for people having... Because sometimes, you know, bands, it's like, you see the band, it's like, yeah, you can see it. How does the band overall fit in with that?
I think... I don't know how. I know Tony's a Skid Row fan. I don't know how much the other two guys really like that band and stuff. But like if you ever heard "Slave to the Grinds,"
yeah,
you know that whole album, or even like Sebastian's solo stuff, it was a lot heavier and a lot edgier. And I don't know, something about that name hit me. I don't know. I don't know if I have an answer for that. I really don't.
Okay, sorry for throwing you on that one. It's just...
if you think it fits, then maybe to everybody else in the crowd it fits.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know. It makes sense to me somehow.
Well, just with the performance and the fact that you guys are edgier.
Yeah.
I mean, you put a serious hard rock, borderline metal sound to Billy Joel's Big Shot, you know, and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, like an Angel Down, Fallen Angel, stuff like that. That's where it fit to me, you know. Most people it might not, you know.
I think an important thing that we actually did concentrate when we were all throwing these names out before we ended up on Angel Down was that we wanted to pick a name that didn't pigeonhole us into one style of music, you know what I mean? Like
one genre.
I love Megadeth, but if you're Megadeth, you're a metal band, you know what I mean? And I love metal, but I also wanted to be able to play other kinds of music and stuff.
Yeah,
like
if you're doing Megadeth, you're not doing Motley Crue. Basically, it's, you know, totally. You are to a point, but you're doing Motley Crue's early stuff.
Yeah. I think we just wanted to get something that was kind of, when you heard the name, you kind of thought you knew what you were getting, but you weren't sure, so maybe you wanted to check it out.
Okay, so it was something grabbed people's attention and interest right off before they even heard the band.
Right.
Okay. Now, how as far as, I think I pretty much, one area I want to get into quick, and we'll take a final break and then wrap it up. The music industry in general.
Yeah.
I always ask this out of artists, bands, and everything, just because of we're in the age of the transition between the traditional, like with artists and authors, the print versus the digital. Okay. In the music industry, one of the things that we've transitioned, and I read articles and I agree with this, is we went from being album and CD based to being singles based. We went from, you know, listening to everything on our Sony Walkman's MP, you know, everything's MP digital now versus, you know, the way it used to be.
Right.
And also, we live in the age of the indies. I don't care what art form, small businesses, we live in the age of the indies where it's so much easier for an independent artist, no matter what you're doing, to at least get out there, and then you have the severe migraine called marketing to get known.
Right.
What do you think of the way things are now versus, let's just say, even 7 years ago, it was still harder for an indie to get known and get out there. Do you think it's helped the industry the way things are now, or a combination of help and there's drawbacks?
I think it's a double-edged sword, the way things are today with music. I just remember going back again to watching my uncle and watching how he did stuff with his band. When they had a mailing list, it wasn't Facebook sending out 1,000 invitations at one time, just like that. It was actually like physical schedules that went in envelopes and got sent out in the mail, you know what I mean? And, you know, it's not like that anymore. I mean, you get on Facebook or any other
Twitter, whatever,
and you can let 1,000, 2,000 people know that you have a show coming up just like that. So it's made it a lot easier and probably cheaper to get yourself out there, but at the same time, it's really oversaturated the whole market because there's a lot more to pick through now. You know, I think when it was harder to do, maybe that kept a lot of people from doing it. You know, I mean, there was less bands, and since there were less bands, it was easier to maybe find the gems in that pile. You know, now it seems like everybody's got a band.
Yeah, look at Reverb. It's
it's there's just so many, you know, and maybe that's why a lot of people haven't heard of us. I mean, we've been around for over 4 years now, and people come to our shows now and they're, oh, we've never heard of you guys before. It was awesome, you know. It's our first time catching you guys. That's because there's a million other bands, even in this area.
Oh, yeah. I mean, on the average weekend, especially when the weather gets warmer, you have the fairs and everything. I just did an article as far as I'm posting it, part 1 tonight, where about, in my opinion, the best locations to have an event and the best time of the year.
Yeah.
And in that article, I said in Lehigh Valley, the best time of the year is also the second worst time of the year to have an event, the summer.
Yeah.
The downside to it is you're going up against some, you know, even with the bands, fairs, festivals, carnivals, benefits. I said, but you also have the tourism coming in, so all of a sudden, especially, you know, for bands that are, you know, for something that's not local based, that's online, you might have somebody coming in from California or Los Angeles, also might say, hey, look, I want to check these guys out. So it's the best and the worst.
Yeah, for a band like us, like being a cover band and stuff, summer's kind of rough. We usually take a month off or so over the summer and use that time to build up the set list and maybe drop some stinkers that weren't going over so well and bring in some new stuff.
Spend some time with your family, take a vacation.
Yeah, well, you know, we play a lot, but we don't play too much. We probably play like twice a month, usually like 2 weekends a month and stuff, because it gives us time on the other weekends to do our thing. But that helps us out, because when we were playing every single weekend, it starts to become a job and it starts to become not quite what it used to be. You know what I mean? If we take a little bit of time off and stuff, we're hungry and we're fired up to play when we do play.
Yeah, well, does that help you with creativity also, and to recharge your energy versus?
Yeah, if you spend too much time around anything, it starts to, even when whether or not I'm learning a cover song or if I'm writing my own stuff, if I stare at it or listen to it for too long, I have to take a break. I gotta walk away. Like I do artwork too, graphic design and stuff like that. And if I spend too much time staring at something, I have to walk away from it for a little while and come back to it, and then it starts to make more sense. And I think the band is like that a lot too. I think, you know, spend too much time doing it, no matter how much, and that doesn't say anything about how much we love it. I mean, we're musicians for a reason. I mean, we're not in it for the money, or we would have quit a long time ago. We're in this because we love music.
Or you would have went completely commercial. And
Right. So you know, no matter how much you love something, if you do too much of it, drives you a little crazy. You got to walk away from it and freshen it up a little bit.
Well, I remember an interview with Daryl Hall and John Oates in the 80s, and how you'd see them put out an album together, then you'd see them do their own solo projects. And for some reason, I remember the interview where the main question was asked is, why does that actually help when you come, you know, you come back and do you know, together? And they said, yeah, taking that break, it gives us a chance to do, you know, when we're doing our own thing, it gives us a break. So yeah, that's, even Hall and Oates said, you actually, it really helps that. So, all right, we're going to break off for here, then cut two or three questions, wrap it up, and give you a chance, like I would do with everybody, really promote yourself and, you know, really get people excited. So, sound good?
All right.